Tony Fields, Ozzy Osbourne and Gene Simmons. Now this is an old VHS copy. I'm showing you this because this one has a really good cover. This is the best cover artwork in my opinion for this movie to date. Now when this was released on DVD, to put it mildly, there was a few different covers for this when it came out on DVD, and all of them were crap. Basically they got rid of this great artwork and replaced it with some really poor photographs of Ozzy Osbourne and Gene Simmons. They just basically slapped two headshots of Ozzy Osbourne and Gene Simmons on the front cover of Trick or Treat. I guess in an attempt to try and sell the movie to people based on them two names, you know, mainly directed at people who hadn't heard of the movie, using Ozzy Osbourne and Gene Simmons to sell it. But there was another cover as well which was pretty decent, and I haven't used that one for any of the DVDs either. That was a painting of Sammy Kerr playing his guitar with sort of electricity coming out of his fingers. That one would have even been better than the ones they chose. Anyway, I do have the DVD somewhere, but I've misplaced it somehow. But anyway, it doesn't matter because this one has got a much better cover, as you can see. Now the film itself, I would consider it something of a classic. It's directed by Charles Martin Smith, who is probably best known for appearing in films such as The Untouchables and Starman with Jeff Bridges. I think this was his directorial debut as far as I'm aware. Not 100% sure on that, but I don't think he had directed too much else. In fact, I don't know if he directed much after this either. But he did a damn fine job on it, and he even has a cameo appearance in the movie, wearing a pair of glasses with a false nose and a mustache on it at the party scene, sitting on a balcony, I think, as far as I can remember. Anyway, this film has, in my opinion, a very good story. Some people have compared it with Halloween and Carrie, like a cross between Halloween and Carrie, but I don't really see that so much myself. And I certainly didn't think of Carrie the first time I watched this. But basically it's about this young heavy metal fan, played by Mark Price, who basically buys an album, an LP, a vinyl record of his favourite heavy metal singer, Sammy Kerr, and then he turns the TV on one morning while he's doing the washing in the kitchen, and he suddenly, well, he's got his headphones on at the time, he's listening to some of his Sammy Kerr music, and then he just happens to look at the TV and sees something. He sees Sammy Kerr getting interviewed, like in a press conference on the TV, and then he takes his headphones off. He thinks it's going to be, you know, some good news. Turns out to be quite the opposite. It turns out Sammy Kerr has just died in a fire in a hotel, and obviously he's devastated, and he throws a few fits and stuff because he's really angry and what have you. You know, he's really upset because this is his idol, you know. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I know what you're thinking, too late. His record, he starts playing it, or it starts playing backwards by itself at some point, and he finds cryptic messages when the record's played backwards telling them to do things. So he basically goes around trying to do what the messages have just told him to do, and he ends up in all sorts of trouble. And he's also getting bullied at school, mainly by Doug Savant. That's the actor that plays the bully anyway, Doug Savant. He's bullying the crap out of Eddie, as he's called. Mark Price's character is called Eddie, I forgot to mention that. And it's also got an appearance by this guy who's now a producer and works for New Line Pictures, I think. New Line Cinema. He plays his best friend in the movie. Glenn, I think he's called, and that's his real name. Glenn. I can't remember his second name, but he also is a film director now, and he directed Black Christmas, the remake. So watch out for that if you didn't know that already. His best friend, Eddie's best friend in the movie, is the guy who directed the remake of Black Christmas. He's called Glenn something. I do know his second name, but I can't think of it right now. What else? Oh yes, and Ozzy Osbourne turns up later on, playing. I think he's a priest, pretty much. Well, he's religious anyway, and he's on a TV show, and he's saying all this weird stuff that you don't expect Ozzy Osbourne to come out with, being all evangelical and stuff. And then also Gene Simmons comes into it, playing a DJ called Nuke. And Nuke also gives Eddie the only copy of the brand new unreleased album by Sammy Kerr. And I believe it's a silver vinyl LP. I can't remember if that's the one he starts playing backwards, or that one also plays backwards. I forget now. But anyway, anyway, the film is great, in my opinion. It's also got a good music score by what's his name again? The guy that did the music for Elm Street, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Christopher Young. That's it. Good music score by him. He always does good stuff. And now, as well as the music score by Christopher Young, there was also a soundtrack for this movie released, and it only had the music that was performed by Fastway. There's Fastway, featuring Fast Eddie Clarke, who used to be in Motorhead, did the music, all the guitar rock songs that Sammy Kerr plays. Basically, they were Sammy Kerr's music in the film, and he had to mime to all the songs. And you can still get that soundtrack, I believe. I'm not sure if it's deleted, but it must be, like, if it is, I think there's a few second-hand copies floating around. I mean, I've got a copy of the soundtrack on LP vinyl, which I'm keeping a hold of, because I quite like the music on it. And that music is pretty damn good. Eddie Clarke's pretty good guitarist, so no disappointments there. And it fits well alongside the Christopher Young orchestral score as well. Now, in the movie, it does, like I mentioned earlier, it does feature a lot about bullying, which is always, a topical subject. I mean, the movie was made in 1986, but still today, the topic of bullying never really goes away. But anyway, in the movie, I forgot to mention earlier that Eddie also has the hots for this girl, or maybe it's the other way around. She has the hots for him, mostly. And I can't remember the name of the actress that played the part, but I remember she's very attractive, and I haven't really seen her in any other movies. I don't know if she's been in any other movies. And what's strange is, on the back of here, on the credits, it doesn't even mention a name. Don't know why, like. It just mentions the more well-known characters, the well-known musicians and actors that are in the film. Although Tony Fields isn't really that well-known, but he's mentioned. But anyway, there's a good sort of romantic thing going on in the movie as well, which I quite enjoyed.